What is the foul situation? Are they in the bonus? Are they in a double bonus? Are they getting 2 free throws? Are they getting one-on-one? Free throw situation. If they're not in the bonus and you're under a minute and you're up 3, guys coming down one-on-one and you've only got 2 fouls, isn't this a good foul? You better believe it. One-on-one should be an opportunity to score half the time minimum if you know how to handle the ball. Take the foul. You have to know when those situations occur. This is your responsibility. You are the coach on the court. If you're not sure what it is when there's a free throw, an offensive free throw, because you're not going to be in on an offensive free throw anyway, are you? If it's an offensive free throw, go ask the scorer. How many fouls do we have to give? Always be thinking.
The point guard has to be able to make pressure free throws because late in the game the ball is going to be in his hands, and when the other team comes after him, he's going to end up on the free throw line, and they've got to be able to step up and make those free throws.
Free throw situations. Always make sure your big people are lined up with big people. Sometimes, you know, your players aren't paying attention, and you'll end up with a 6'6" guy here against a 6'2" guy here. Is that a good situation? Your 6'5" guys over here lined up against a 6'3" guy. Is that what you want? Who has control over that? You do. You have control over that. You say, hey, you go on that side. Big man, you're on that side. Let's line this up. Is that worth a defensive rebound? Of course it is. Second thing is, if you're the point guard, you should be in on a defensive free throw. This is a defensive free throw. Now, if your coach wants it different, then you need to go with that. But most coaches want 5 guys in on a defensive free throw because you want to control the ball. It's more important to get the free throw than to get an early outlet. Unless you have 2 7-footers here playing against 2 6'5" guys, then you could have 2 guys in on the free throw, more than likely. But typically, there's going to be 5 players in on a defensive free throw. It's your responsibility to make sure that they're lined up with guys of their size or strength. You might have 2 guys that are 6'5" on each side, and one weighs 240 and one weighs 160. Who are you going to put against their big, stocky guy? You're 240 guy, aren't you? That's your responsibility. On offensive free throws, you should be back on defense. Now, maybe your coach wants you to press. There's a situation here that's different. If your coach wants to press on a made free throw and you're supposed to be up on the ball, then you're gonna be up closer. But that's the one variation to it. Normally, if you're not pressing and you don't have an an opponent right here, way back at half court, let's say they're waiting here for an outlet, then you can be up here as a point guard near the outlet pass so that you can be in a position to pressure the ball again. Does that make sense?
I need my point guard to quickly read the defense, call the appropriate play, then inbound the ball to an open receiver. He then needs to become a safety valve so that if that initial shot is not there by the initial receiver, he can either make a cut to the basket for another shot or at least be able to receive the ball and then initiate our set offense.
Out of bounds plays. Not a bad thing to always count in your head in case somebody else forgets. As soon as the referee hands the passer the ball, and usually the passer is going to be your 3 or your 2 guy. Your 3 or your 2 player, unless you have an outstanding big man that can pass over the top of people, because you want to have the point guard get the ball in bounds if you get stuck. And typically, 75% of the time, your 2 guard, if it's an offensive inbounds, is going to be the guy or the girl that ends up shooting the ball. Everything evolves around to where you pass, kick it out, swing it around, or you pass it inbounds. The inbounds defender right here will turn and look where the ball went, and this person can usually just go right by and get an easy jump shot or a layup. It's one of the oldest plays in the book, but it seems to work all the time because coaches know it and players don't pick up on it. So as a point guard, do a 5 count in your head. And even go to the official before, every time, so they know that you know what's going on in the court. I'm counting 5 in my head. I will run to you when it gets close if I have to and call a timeout. Which means you also have to know what else. How many timeouts you have left. Make sure you're on the same page with your coach on this. Make sure you're on the same page with your coach on this. Confer with your coach about it. But you have to know how many timeouts you have left. That's critical. Practice shots you're going to do in a game on an out-of-bounds play. Anybody ever do that other than in a team setting? You ever do it on your own? Aaron? I believe that because you shoot the ball so well. You stroke it like crazy. That's critical, isn't it? If you're smart and you want to increase your opportunities to score, figure out what shots you're going to take in a game and work on them.
First off, he's got to be a leader, so someone that can lead the team vocally as well, because especially in college, sometimes you've got to get in guys' faces and tell them where they need to be. So first off, I'd say a leader.
When must you be a leader? On offense, you are the leader. Here's the half court. You're the one guy that has total vision of the whole court. You're the one guy that has total vision of the whole court. You have to be the leader on offense. You have to control the tempo, the timing, everything. On defense, we talked about setting the emotional tempo, didn't we? You can be a leader on defense, but you're not the caller of the defense. That's the post responsibility. But you can be the emotional leader on defense. You can be someone that leads physically by turning up the heat, can't you? What about in the locker room? There's pregame, and you don't want to get too hyped up in a pregame because you'll fizzle by halftime. Pregame should be intelligent leadership. What are the other team's strengths? What are their weaknesses? Who's their best player? What are we going to run? How many times have you guys gone into the locker room before a game, before the coaches get there, and you all sit there and talk about your date last night? Or school, or this teacher did that, or isn't that normally the topic of conversation? You're blaring the music. This is what you need to be doing. Get your heads in the game. Point guards have to take charge of that. Halftime, that can be a little bit more emotional, especially if you're down. It doesn't mean you throw things around and do that, but you do talk about what you need to be doing with the emotion. Do you understand the difference? You don't walk in at halftime and start crying, start yelling, start screaming, but you are emotional about what we need to do. You need to pick it up a notch. Does that help? Am I criticizing him? You can do this. You've got to get that guy off the boards. That is emotional leadership. You have to do that at halftime. On the court, you do it with your energy and constant talk. And in practice, you do it with your actions. That means you're the guy that sets the tone in practice. The coach has to do that too, but you're the guy on the court that has to do it. You try to be first in every sprint. You try to win every drill. You get mad if you lose. You understand? There's a lot on the shoulders of the point guard. Spots on the court you need to be. In a full court situation, the reality is a point guard's going to play mostly in these areas right here. You have to control that area. On the offensive end of the court, point guards are going to predominantly play. You don't want to be in the corners. You don't really want to get down here too often. And to be really honest, you don't want to hedge around this area if you have the ball in your hands dribbling. So point guards want to have the ball up here. And if a guy pressures you, learn to dribble backwards. He will follow you. That'll open up your whole lane. That lets you drive and dish. Does that make sense? Too many players try to drive and dish from right here at the top of the key. It's not going to happen. You're doing it too late. If a guy's all over you, back him up, set him up, take him down. You got to learn how to do that. And then defensively, you know, where your player is, that's where you're going to be. You have to be able to shoot. And these are in order. You have to be a great passer. That includes situation passing, position passing, being in the right putting the ball in the right place at the right time and to the right person. You have to be able to handle the ball. And we're not talking about, yes, I can dribble with my eyes up. We're talking about stop and goes, pressure dribbles, when people are all over you, fast break dribbling moves and skills, one-on-one skills on the fast break. You have to have defensive quickness. And you have to have lateral quickness. You have to have lateral quickness without the ball and with the ball. Defensively, laterally quick, and with the ball, you have to have so you can go this way and explode. And finally, you have to be as much a student of the game as the coach. Know the playbooks. That's what a point guard is. Anybody have any questions? Here's a suggestion. Make notes of this. If you're going to be a point guard, read through it once or twice a day, especially during the season. It will help you to internalize it. It's impossible to go out and try to do all that in practice every day without killing yourself, but you can internalize it by reading it every day. All right, good luck.